Hello and welcome to this flight in the Hawker Tempest. There's 20 players on this server right now. This is Combat Box. There's an hour and 25 minutes of this session on this map left, so I'm going to play the whole thing. I've got a full tank of fuel, gun set to 350 meters convergence, and I'm going to look at the map before I take off and see if I can determine where is the defensive target that is the best one to head to. Alright, a quick glance at the map. I can see I've got 3 airfields here that I'll be taking off from. Enemy has 3 airfields here. That one has bombers, I think, so 3. They have jet fuel. They have a ME-262 from time to time. The munitions depot's been destroyed. None of the enemy targets have been destroyed by the looks of it. These are our targets we have to defend. I'm taking off from here. That one's been destroyed. I think they're coming out of here mostly and going here, but also these guys here must be attacking the tanks. I'm going to have to try and figure out where the attack is coming from, so I'll take off here and I'll either go here. The industrial area is probably the more juicy target, so I'm guessing these guys will probably be focusing on this one. I'll go to the industrial area. It's about a 45-degree angle to the north, from the north, so I'll head 045 after takeoff and I'll head to the industrial area. On the way there, I'm going to see this canal, this distinctive looking lake and thing on the canal there. Bunch of roads leading into that town, and another town in the middle, Zercel. Small body of water there, so there's plenty to navigate with, and I'll also actually be able to see this huge town here, Giel, and that town there probably. So I'll be able to see Turnout, which is where I'm headed to, and it's got a train line, a canal and a road going into it. Hopefully there's some action there. This is my last flight in the Tempest before I switch over to the P-38 Lightning. Let me bring up the chat before I take off. Republic of Aviators, okay. G'day Republic of Aviators, welcome. J Stets. Republic, thanks, no worries. Alright, I've got the chat set up. I won't be talking to the chat too much when I'm flying, even though it's right in front of me. I can glance down and see it. I'm not really going to be looking at the chat. I find I fly a lot better and put on a lot better performance for you guys when I'm focused on looking for targets. So every now and then I'll put the plane into auto cruise and I'll look at the chat, but oh no, I'm about to be kicked out for being idle. That's alright, I'm all set up now. It's important to take the time to get set up, I think. Stats, if YouTube resolution was better, I'd help you spot. Yeah, that's the thing. That is the thing. That's right. One thing you can do is you can try and get a feel for where the action is by reading the chat comments and looking at the map and things like that. Like the chat comments in game, they often give a clue as to where things are, where the action is happening. I've just remembered to press I to bring up the compass in the bottom left hand corner, and I'm going to turn on to 045 and head out to that town. Climbing, climbing, climbing. Now I'll adjust the mixture down to about 67%. 65, that'll probably do us. That is Rotterdam or the other one. Antwerp. Yeah, that's right. I think even before we do any spotting, you can do certain kind of macro scale things to try and figure out where the action's going to be. That's the main thing for me in these maps. Flying as a solo hunter, as I do, as a lone wolf solo hunter. No combat group team or anything like that. So there's got to be some way, some techniques to figure out which defensive target to head to based on where it looks like the enemy's attacking. Only thing I can see in the chat, in-game chat there, is someone destroyed a Luft hangar, which sounds like an Axis hangar. So no help there so far. Nicholas, hello. G'day Nicholas, welcome. Still heading roughly 045. Distinctive looking couple of bodies of water down there and a canal. There's that one there. We're just abeam that funny looking one on the canal there. Now and then there's a radar message that pops up on the top of the screen that says something like aircraft have been enemy, there we go, Allied Engineer Corps destroyed. Damn, so I was heading to the wrong target. So I could head back there, there would be aircraft down there now, but they would be leaving, I would say. It's probably not worth my while to fly down there, because now they're going to change their location. That kind of, it's a process of elimination, so that kind of helps me out a bit that engineer corps has been destroyed, because it means that the industrial area and the tanks are the only two targets left. So it's got to be one of those two, so it's 50-50 where the enemy's going to attack next, so that's a much better odds. J-Stats, nobody wants to fly your wing. I don't think it's nobody wants to. It's some people are very keen on joining clubs and being part of a club and being in a team and all of that kind of stuff. That's not really my style. I much prefer just to do my own thing. Having said that, if any one of you guys wants to jump in a plane right now and come for a fly on Combat Box, be my guest. The only kind of basic criteria is that you have to be able to keep up with me. There's no point in being a couple of kilometres away from me. You have to be able to keep formation with me. That's about the only criteria. If you can do that, jump on board. Still got the engine at full power, so I'm going to reduce it pretty soon. Is the boost. The boost is very low now. I'm looking at it, it's just above the photo. So the engine's pretty much on full power, but I've reduced the manifold by reducing the RPM. What's the engine power? We don't want it in continuous mode, we want it in combat mode. So right now it's at 100%. That'll be fine as long as I remember to reduce it as I'm diving down towards sea level when I'm chasing something, otherwise I will cook the engine. Manifold pressure increases as altitude decreases and vice versa. 035, there's a small town there. now. The cloud base is pretty low, which is unfortunate, and it's pretty sparse, so I won't have anything to hide in. Another town there, tiny one. Canal there. I bet that's the thing, I've just been talking so much and managing the engine that I've lost track of where I am. Alright, big town there with some lakes to the north. It's got to be my target there, big town with lakes to the north, and it's just off my right wing. So that means I'm headed over there. I'm going to keep climbing as I go. The enemy's probably going to be headed to that town right now. They'll probably be just about there. They have to go back and get more bombs. But yeah, the sun is there. I probably want to be on this side of it so I can come out of the sun, whatever difference that makes. What's my altitude? 13,500, that's not too bad. Don't need to be, well, you always want to be higher than the enemy, let me put it that way. Easily get K4s and 262s at this altitude. You don't want to go too high that you get a contrail, everyone will see it. Engine power combat mode. Apparently you can be in combat mode for an hour before the engine gets any problems. So that's why I prefer combat than continuous mode. My boost is very low right now. If I want to increase my boost, I can increase my propeller RPM. I've had trouble where I've been successful in dogfights, but then I've cooked the engine in the heat of the moment by running full power on the deck with full RPM. So I might be inclined to keep the RPM at at 75%, but the thing is, when you've got to chase vertically, go straight up and chase someone above you, you're inclined to go 100% RPM so you can hang on the propeller. And then when you start diving down again, you want to remember to either reduce manifold or reduce the RPM of the prop, otherwise you'll just break the engine. So there's a way to avoid all that, and that's just not to get into dogfights, just to basically keep your dogfights to a minimum, mostly just boom and zoom, but it's very enticing to get into dogfights. Someone's on fire bailing out, so that's my target down there. Before I start looking at it, let me just check the in-game chat, see if I can see any details. Don't really get anything from that. Whoops, and I've written something in the chat by mistake. Alright, let's check out the town. Looks like the target is in the center of the town. You have to be fully zoomed out to be able to see far off targets, so that's what I'll do. I'll fully zoom out like this, and then I'll be able to see targets. So now, I mean, I can get shot down anywhere, even up here, but now I'm in bird of prey mode, sort of hunting rather than being hunted for the most part. Just zoom in a tad. So in the centre of town is where the enemy bombers and fighter bombers are going to be attacking. Those tanks holding oil look like the target. Yeah, I think you're right. It looks like there's a factory down there that's already been destroyed as well. Probably head slightly over towards the sunny side of the town, of the city. Now here's the damn thing, I could be in the wrong spot, I could be in the right spot, I could be waiting for 1 minute, I could be waiting for an hour. There could also be action below me and I could just bloody miss it. There's a bridge, there's some bunkers on the outskirts of town, and there's the factory, there's the fuel tanks, there's another factory, there's one factory that's destroyed, and there's another kind of a warehouse on that side of the town. And there'd probably be some AAA down there, so when a good indication I think is when you see AAA, you know that there are enemies in the region. Actually, we have a bomber base down here that could be getting attacked. They could be going for the bomber base and the industrial area here and the tanks up here. If there's nothing here soon, I'm going to go down to the bomber base and see if I can see anything down there. I think they should be here already. If they're not here, and I just saw on the in-game chat something about airfield assets getting attacked. I think I'm in the wrong spot. I'm going to make the decision. Jet fuel train destroyed. That's the enemy's jet fuel train. We don't have one. So I'm going to head south and I'm going to go down to the very southern target. Usually the enemy works sequentially anyway. So I'm going to head 180 right now. I reckon I'm in the wrong spot. That's Geel on the nose. I'm here. I'm going to head down to here. I think these guys are just going to be attacking right here. Actually, that was the enemy's airfield. Destroyed train oil tank? No. I need a radar or something to give me an indication. I think it's time for a sip of coffee. Morning from Scotland, by the way. Good morning. I can't have fun unless I'm flying along with others, yeah. Well, you can, just not as much. If you want to jump in, just go to combat box. I'm heading down towards the southern, defending the target. Down towards the southern allied defending target. I'm going to defend our bomber base. The nearest airfield is Le Culot. P61 Black Widow has your radar. That is I think it's a Northrop. It's like a twin engine, twin boom, fairly heavy aircraft, about the size of a B-25, I think. Combat box when you're online in the future, is that okay? Yeah, for sure. My whole thing is I'm not so keen on structure, like rigid structures. You must come and join at this time, you must train at this time, you must pass these particular prerequisite tests. My whole thing is basically, if you're online when I'm online, awesome, come and join me. And that way there's no obligation, and it's just fun, just opportunities for fun. I'm just abeam this feature right here in this canal, heading towards D East and going south. Hopefully I'm going in the right direction. Still got the tanks to defend in the industrial area, but I'm headed to the bomber base south of St. Truden. Great, I'll wing for you. Yeah, awesome. The only other time that I tried this is someone that was in the chat came online when I was in the Kuban map about 2 months ago, and that was okay, except that he didn't keep up with me. He went off and did his own thing, essentially. He was about 3 kilometers away from me at the closest. So that didn't really work. I think what's essential is you'll need to pull out your mobile phone, your cell phone, and you need to bring up YouTube, and hopefully you've got the YouTube app on your smartphone. There's the airfield down there, and then bring up the live stream so that you can see the chat and you can type in the chat and you can see anything that's typed in the chat. That's pretty much essential. And maybe just keep the volume on the stream so you can hear what I'm saying, and look at the stream and you'll get an idea of where I am, and so then you can rendezvous with me. If you don't have some way of looking at the stream while you're flying, which would be your cell phone, then there won't be any communication between us and it won't work. So that's essential. Yeah, two computers, or like a play on your rig and have your laptop next to you with the stream running, something like that. Or I'm looking at my iPhone right now, looking at the chat, and I'm playing on my rig. So some kind of setup like that. And we'll go with that for the time being. Maybe in the future I'll do like a whole Discord and the whole shebang, the whole 9 yards, the whole kitchen, everything, and the kitchen sink. But right now, just keeping it very rudimentary. There's a town with a cross airfield. And there's another town off my wing. There's a town with a cross airfield. And I'm headed down here, and there's another town off my wing, so that identifies that. And thirdly, there's a lake to the north. And there it is there. So I know that that's my destination. Alright, so hopefully I can catch some enemy down here. Oh, you got 2 screens on your gaming rig, that's pretty good. Okay, sounds cool. Yeah, awesome. And that goes for anyone that wants to come for a fly. If I'm flying, come for a fly, just make a note of what has been discussed already about keeping the stream running somehow, somewhere. either on a mobile phone or on the rig on another screen, or on a laptop or a tablet or something. And so you can see the stream and hear it, like hear me say where I am and stuff like that. And then yeah, jump in a plane and come for a fly. Enemy aircraft spotted near Gilzay in 1410. Sheesh, man, I'm nowhere near 1410. That's in the north. Oh man, that's way up here. 1410, they're going for the tanks. Someone at least is going for the tanks. I'm going to hang around here for a bit since I'm here now. This is a target that's going to be attacked at some point. It's probably already been attacked somewhat. I can't make out if it's been attacked or not. Maybe it has not at all. Oh no, the hangars. German jet fuel train departing Julans 1517. I think 3, 4, yeah, the hangars are destroyed. I can see a few of the hangars are destroyed. So it has been hit already, at least somewhat. Remember, I was just in the industrial area to the north and there was no action there whatsoever. Reduce power a tad since I'm going to be just hanging around. 70% power and 75% propeller. That gives me a boost of about 5. Negative 3. Shit, that's not good. I want a positive boost up here. Even with full power, I'm not getting a positive boost. What would I do? That doesn't do anything. Just keep it at 75 and 75. Alright, gonna hang around here for at least 5 minutes and just see what's happening. So you can see a big contrast between like this server and the official EU1C server, which has intense action on it, whereas this is more like strategic and tactical manoeuvring with a bit of combat. And I don't dislike this way. I think this is good. But man, I mean, I've been flying for however long and there's no combat. And often you just get jumped out of the middle of nowhere, which really sucks. You fly for 45 minutes and then you just get jumped. That sucks so hard. I'm resorting to asking the chat. And no one knows anything. One problem though is I'm getting a sore neck and sore eyes from doing all this neck craning BS, like looking out the corner like that. I have to crane my neck and hold a stress position to do that. So I'm going to try something right now. I'm going to turn off the track IR by pressing F9. Okay, and now I'll try the mouse. Alright, so it's a bit disconcerting, but yeah, now I'm looking straight ahead and I've got the mouse there. Now I can kind of relax my posture. That's kind of better in IRL physiology. Otherwise you'd literally be flying for like an hour with your head turned to the left and your eyes pointing in another direction as well. Two separate kind of stressors, which means a headache. Trying to keep the wing pretty nice and stable. Just looking for some, I'd probably could do with some trim right now, just to keep the nose slightly back pressure. There ain't nothing going on here. What I'm reading in the in-game chat, a lot of the destructive action is taking place behind enemy lines in on their train. Their train is getting hit by our guys. So the only evidence I have so far of enemy action behind friendly lines is there was an aircraft spotted up north near the very north target, which is our tanks. It was spotted at 1410. The tanks are like at 1411 or something. So there ain't nothing going on here. I might have to make the jump and fly on north, which is going to be another 5 minutes of flying. But yeah, there's nothing here. Well, I've checked this out good and proper, and doing this thing with the mouse. Might as well head north. Oh, there's something. The airfield here is under attack. Welly, 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 well. What I can see, none of the enemy's targets have been destroyed. They're all intact, even the train. Maybe I should head here. That could be a 262. Usually that's a 262. And the airfield's still registering as under attack. I wonder if I should go north to the tanks via the airfield at Antwerp. I've just left here and I'm heading north. Maybe I want to adjust my course. What would that be? 300? Roughly 300. Got a town up on the nose. I'll keep that just to my left. So there's 300. What would that town be? I took north from here. That town is probably Deest or that one, Aarschot. Antwerp's still under attack. I'll be there soon, I think. Good thing about flying at high altitude is your true airspeed is higher than if you're flying on the ground, because the air's thinner, you've got a turbo or a supercharger, etc. So you can fly faster over the ground. Particularly so if you're in a jet, but also with a propeller plane, as long as it's got turbo or supercharger. Got another town up there. Antwerp's pretty massive, like it's distinctive. It's massive and it's distinctive. Mostly it's distinctive. It's right on the coast. I can see the coast just there. So it's at the end of a river that comes in off the coast. So you kind of can't miss it. It's one of the most distinctive cities on the map. Look at that. What is that? It's a bridge on fire. What the heck? I think that might be a permanent fire. What bridge is it though? It's Arshot. Arsho. It's the engineer core that was already destroyed about half an hour ago. That gives me an idea where I am. I've just flown over the engineer core that was destroyed. That was basically destroyed before I got on the map, I think. Small town there. Canal, another town there, pretty big one. Just flown over here. What's that big town that I'm seeing? It must be Deal. So I'm on my way. Moving pretty fast. I left here, now I'm here, almost here. On my way up to here, probably going via here. So I'll go here, check it out, and then I'll go here, then here. I'm going to cross a river here. There's a train line. I can't miss it really. Alright, I'm going to probably pretty soon change over to track IR. Train. I could head to the enemy's train. The strategy that I'm trying to figure out at the moment is how to find targets by looking for the flak over my defensive areas and then following the triangulation of the flak, which points the way to the target aircraft. In the future, I'm going to try and figure out how to do that offensively. Obviously, you can't make use of flak because if you're over enemy territory, the enemy flak is not going to be firing at the enemy fighters, so that won't give you an indication of where they are. I'll literally have to eyeball it, like hover over an enemy area and just wait for one of their planes to come by and eyeball it, like visually see it there. You can also see dogfights between your planes and the enemy planes over the enemy targets. Alright, we got Antwerp on the nose. And what do you know, it stopped being attacked. Next direction is going to be from here to here, it's about 45. Go back to track IR. Just check out what we got. Never know, might be able to catch a 262 or see some flak or tracer or something. Important to stay zoomed out so I can actually pick up dots on the horizon. Could well be a 262 up at this altitude. There's no hope of seeing a plane down there, but we'll see tracer, looking for tracer and looking for flak bursts. Don't really want to lose all my altitude. Yeah, the boost is picking up now that I've descended. You can tell that mostly by hearing the engine changing its note progressively, winding upwards, getting faster. trying to hold the plane as steady as possible. What I'm doing is I'm checking on the ground. So the airfield was under attack, and now it's not under attack, which means that whatever was attacking it has departed. And if it's departed, it might just be outside the range of the airfield. It might just be down here somewhere. It's kind of a long shot, but it's what you got to do if you want to have any hope of catching what was at the airfield. Okay, so from here I'm going to head about 050 and head to the next defensive target. MSI gaming laptop. I appear to be reading that. It appears to be out of context. I'm not sure what the context is that you're mentioning that. Time for another sip of coffee, I think. So from here we're heading here, then we're heading here. If there's nothing up here, I have to decide either to come back along here or to go into the enemy territory. Lucky I took off with 100% fuel. Butcher bird destroyed ammo dump. Butcher bird destroyed Opal Blitz. So he's going offensive, and he's on my side, I can tell, because he's destroying Axis targets. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on that side. That's not too bad, and about the same on this side, a little bit more. So there's some kind of thing is we're flying over the entire of Western Europe kind of thing, so big distances. In reality, if this was real right now, there would be some kind of coordination on the radio with air command, like a fighter command, and the fighter command would have radars here and there all over the place that would be relaying that information to the headquarters of the fighter command, and then the headquarters of the fighter command would be radioing that stuff to the fighters up here, and they'd be telling them things like, you've got a dozen planes at Antwerp, or something, you know, for example. Like, you've got a dozen unidentified planes at Antwerp, or whatever. Or if they could identify them as Axis, they'd say you've got a dozen. They'd be tracking them progressively too. They'd be saying you've got a large number of probably Axis planes at Geel heading west at 5,000 feet, and then maybe even a speed. And so that'd give you a good idea, and then a minute later they'd come back and they'd say, now they're at 7,000 feet and they've changed direction west-southwest. And you'd be like, oh, okay, they're headed to Antwerp, and then things like that. So you'd have a pretty good picture of where things were. And you'd also have probably 500 fighters just like this in this region, and they'd all be on the same frequency, I would say, and they'd all be saying, no, there's nothing in this region, no, there's nothing in this region, and then one squadron would be like, yes, we've got a HE-111 over whatever town, over Nijmegen or whatever, and so you'd get a really good picture based on that air defence structure, like infrastructure, as to what was around you. Must have probably gotten to it by now, might have even overflown it. There's a town there with a airfield to the north. I think I've gone way too far. I'm looking at that. The town there is what I'm after, with the lakes to the north of it. So up high, this is a fast plane. So I'll just go there for a bit, see what's there. I reckon these late war planes, I don't know if it's in this plane or... Geez, those are some big shells. Those would be for a flare gun. They look like shotgun cartridges, but they'd be for a flare gun. Yeah, I can't see anything in this plane, but a lot of these late war fighters are equipped with IFF. So they'd get some kind of indication if there was a friendly in the region, and they'd get some kind of indication if there was a plane in the region that was broadcasting. I don't know how IFF works. I think it's like a transponder. Your plane broadcasts the signal of the day, and so does everyone else on your team. The enemy, assuming they have IFF, they also broadcast a signal. If you pick up a signal that you're compatible with, probably you get a green light in the cockpit, which probably tells you that there's a friendly plane within a kilometre, like within 1 mile or something like that. By the way, we're back here again. But of course, and so then what the enemy would do is they would also get into a plane like a Heinkel HE-111 or something, particularly at night time, and they'd fly around broadcasting IFF on the same frequency that all your guys are on. And so and that kind of thing. So towards 1945 there was massive electronic warfare in the sky over Europe, from between the aircraft. Ain't nothing going on down here. Those fuel tanks are intact. Nothing has changed down here at all. Even the bridge is intact. Fuel tanks are intact. The bunkers are intact. That one factory that was destroyed before is the only thing that's destroyed. So I'm not going to stick around here. I'll go north. I'll check out what's up there. Oh, okay. You've got a gaming rig plus an MSI gaming laptop. Awesome, that's pretty good. Supercharger on over 10,000 feet. I wonder, do I have to do that manually? Machine Head, hi all, hi Frog, g'day Machine Head, welcome. Jay Stets, what if there's a friendly and an enemy within the range? Do you mean to do with IFF? I assume you'd get an indication for both of them. I think it's a pretty rudimentary kind of a system. It basically just tells you, like particularly if you're flying at night, it tells you that there's an aircraft in. You know, I don't know if you know Lord of the Rings. I think Bilbo Baggins has a sword, like an elven sword with a special blade, and when there are trolls nearby, the blade starts to glow, and that's kind of an IFF. I believe it's a similar kind of a system as that. Exactly the same concept. There's also some kind of a radar that heavier aircraft had. I think bombers had them, like Lancasters and that, towards the end of the war, where you had a radar that pointed backwards and it would give you some indication that there was an aircraft behind you. Not so useful when you're flying in formation, but if you're flying, like I don't know if they had them on Mosquitoes, but if you're flying a Mosquito by itself at night time, you'd probably want a good indication when an aircraft was coming up behind you. That would mean the enemy would have to put off a signal. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So I think it only works on picking up a signal. So it's not passive like radar. Alright, so where am I? I'm over the tanks pretty much. The tanks are just over here. That town there, just to the east of it, there's the tanks. I'm at a good altitude. Kermit Week's Mustang has this tail radar as he shows in the video. Damn, that's cool. So a plane as small as a Mustang has a tail radar. That's pretty amazing. Down there you can see some bunkers. Those are the tanks. At least that's the location of the tanks. Those are my tanks down there somewhere, and those bunkers signify them. Somebody's been shot down. The only thing that I can see that's going on is that Axis assets on the ground, like MG34s, Opel Blitzers and that, they're all being destroyed. It's clear that there's nothing going on here. Nothing's been destroyed. There's no smoke. Obviously there's no planes. There's another bunker there. Time to go perhaps inland. I've checked out all of my targets, some of them more than once. Remember to keep zooming out so that I can actually see dots on the horizon. If I zoom in, I won't see anything. Alright. Alright, so I'm over the tanks here. Where should I go now? The only indication I get from the in-game chat that something's going on is airfields and trains are being destroyed. So there's a train there. Enemy stuff, not allied stuff, and there's airfields there and there. Probably head here, so that means that's 90, 120 maybe. I'll go 110. I'll go 110. I'm practically heading in the right direction now. Anyway, I'll just leave it like that. I'm cruising at 75% power, so not using up full power. I've took off about, 25 minutes ago with full fuel, so that's good. The Tempest has a tendency to drink a lot of fuel. I think the engine at full power produces some crazy amount of power, like 2400 horsepower or 2700 horsepower, some really crazy figure. What am I seeing? Probably that one. Oh, that's Tilburg. So I've just taken off from there, departed there. Here's Tilburg. Any enemy aircraft? Any aircraft? Nothing. Round will finish in 20 minutes. Typical. Alright, so I'm going to head 110. Head to the enemy train. Maybe just hang around there. Maybe destroy the train. Enemy aircraft spotted near Breda in 1309. Crap. Turn west. So that message is like a radar. Enemy aircraft spotted near tanks at 1310. Good. I'll head to the tanks. Time for a sip of coffee en route to hopefully a combat. Alright. I'm pretty much zoomed fully out. I've got to get past that town with the runway before I get to where I'm going, which is that town just above the crosshairs where we were before, where I pointed out that the tanks are. Probably want to maybe descend a little bit and stay just to one side of it so I can see what's going on there. Hopefully see something. Try and keep the plane steady. Kind of coming out of the sun. Actually, that's what I'll do. I'll move over to this side of the road and I'll come at the town from this side. Geez, that high speed, that G-lock threatens so quickly. Gotta remind myself when I get into a combat to cut the power. This plane will G-lock you like nothing else. It's good to speed to the combat, but when you get there, particularly with like a 109, which can turn, you just want to cut power so you can stay behind it without overshooting it and without G-locking when you try and turn with it. I've been practicing my scissors, and their scissors is a really powerful maneuver. I used to do it sometimes through happenstance, now I'm consciously trying to do it. Particularly when you've got an enemy on your tail and he's got the same performance as you. About the only way to defeat him and get on his tail is a scissor. You can't outturn him, you can't outclimb him. Usually you can't dive away, or if you do, it's costly in energy. But if you do a rolling scissor, like a barrel roll that continues in a descent, you might be able to get on his tail. So yeah, looking for some firing, I guess. I'm coming out of the sun, that's perfect. Climb a little bit here as I go over the target. Trying to keep it steady. basically looking at the tanks, looking for AAA. That target was moving east. It was spotted over the town and then over the tanks. So I may have like overflown it. If I did, there's not much I can do about that. Somebody destroyed a 52k AAA gun. I don't actually know what that is. You guys see anything? I don't see anything down there. I think part of the problem is time zones. Most of the action happens when everyone in the northern hemisphere is most active. I guess between the hours of probably 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. roughly in northern hemisphere time, roughly Greenwich Mean Time. It's only about 10 or 15 minutes left. That attacker has proven elusive. So in a last ditch effort to get some action, I'm going to go towards the enemy's airfield and just bloody hang around there until I come across something. So I'm at Tilburg and I'll just head out here somewhere and try and get some action. Yeah, exactly, machine. Yeah, knowing the map by heart, or at least knowing it pretty well, is essential, I think. Yeah, I'm starting to know this map very well now. I've spent enough hours flying around it already in the last week. New maps, the good thing about them is they're navigable, if that's a word. You can navigate on these maps, so they're pretty good in that way. 1912. Those guys are attacking the Panzers. Good to know. It's pretty far away though. Literally at the other end of the map. I've got an enemy airbase up here. There's an enemy airbase right there. I think I'm flying between two of them actually, gotta watch out. That big one there. Got the jet fuel down here. It looks like it's at 1912. Might as well head down there. Might not even get there in time. Might encounter something on the way, but at least that's confirmed. So it's roughly south, maybe 200, 230. This map on Combat Box is on a rotating schedule, so I might actually, this is basically, let's call it the last day of flying the Tempest before I switch over to the P-38 Lightning. So I might, next time Combat Box or Knights of the Air or whoever comes up next time one of them rotates into Eindhoven map, this map here, or whatever you want to call it, Rhineland map, Bodenplatte map, I'll come back on it. It'll be later on tonight. What do you know? Doesn't that suck? That's a pretty good illustration of, like, trying to bail out. Pretty good indication of, like, the bad side to this. Trying to bail out, it won't let me. Everything's pretty good, but one thing I've noticed is that since the new systems come in, it's impossible to bail out. I can sometimes bail out, but usually not. And trust me, if I'm in a plane that's spiraling towards the ground, even if I'm subject to 6 Gs laterally, like left to right, in some kind of spiral dive, I'm still going to pull myself up and get out of that cockpit. I don't give a shit. I'm getting out. So I think that kind of inability to bail out is, I don't know, it's not quite what I want. Noticed it too, yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a great illustration of, like, you can fly around literally for 45 minutes and then get shot down out of the blue. It's the worst thing. It's the most demoralizing thing. I'm going to take off And where's 1912? Here. It's a much of a muchness. Take off again from Antwerp. Probably 5 minutes left on the map. Don't need full fuel. 35%. That's about it. Dan Fair, you based in Oz, ever keen to squad up? Yeah, we were discussing this earlier. If I'm ever flying and you want to come for a fly, feel free. So I'm on combat box right now. Mind you, this ends in about 5 minutes. Ah, you kidding me? Aircraft spotted near the tanks now. See, all of this stuff is kind of frustration inducing. There probably needs to be a pretty good system in future updates where even if there's a few people on a huge map like this, the game can somehow pair up fights somehow. If someone's looking at what they need to be looking at, they can get a fight going on. Like maybe, I don't know, more radar messages when there's less players on the map, so you can get a better idea of where the enemy is and what their strength is and where they're headed and that sort of thing. Few minutes left. Going to try and get to 1912. As you guys saw in the Tempest, I can actually get ace level numbers. My last Tempest vid, I shot down 5 planes in a row in the space of 16 minutes. I was pretty reckless flying up to the enemy's airfield, but you kind of get that way when you've been flying for 40-45 minutes and there's no sightings of any enemies. Get a bit blasé. G'day Michael. Yes, I am. Have a look at that boost. I've got full power and 75% RPM and I'm just under 8 pounds of boost. Ah, come on. Mission will end in 1 minute. Alright, took off from Antwerp. Trying to get to 1912 in the space of 1 minute. Roughly 110. Futile, 40 seconds left. Fire off all the ammo. That road is dead. Killed that road, deader than a hammer. Still got some more ammo. That's it. So I think you get 600 rounds of 20mm. So guys, that's the end of this stream. As you can see, it was completely uneventful and disheartening with the shoot down at the end there. Yeah, that's a good illustration. It's come a long way, and be good if I could get some action. So in the entire session there, and remember I only joined when there was an hour and 25 minutes left to go. I think it's a 2.5 hour session or a 3.5 hour or something. The highest scoring player got 4 kills on my side, which is pretty good, but that's kind of an anomaly. No, sorry, that's 4 deaths. The highest scoring player got 1 kill, and there was no one that scored higher than that. It really would be good if there was some kind of a radar system that would give both sides an indication of where the action is, where it's headed, what the strength is, what the altitude is, especially when there's limited amounts of players on the server. Because when you've got 60 players on the server, you look at the chat and you get a good idea of what's going on, and the action's more fast paced, so you see where the attacks are going on. But when it's like that, it's kind of potluck. Well, guys, that's the end of this stream, so I'm going to take off now. I'll probably be back later on with another attempt at this when there's more players on, when it's at a more busy time. So maybe hopefully catch you then. If anyone wants to come for a fly the next time there's a Bodenplatte map available, either on comp box, jump on and come for a fly. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining me on this futile expedition. Smash the like button. Support my efforts on Patreon or by joining the channel as a member on YouTube, and check out my website. It's froggyfrog9000.com, and if you haven't already, subscribe and smash the bell icon so you get notified when I next go live and things like that. Okay, catch you next time. Bye for now.